love that. I'm Scotty. You're not. And, so now that I've reviewed season 4 of The Flash, it's now time to take a look at the crossover from that season, Crisis on Earth X, which was a crossover of all 4 major Arrowverse shows. Part 1 was Supergirl, Part 2 was Arrow, Part 3 was The Flash, and Part 4 was Legends of Tomorrow. And you can kind of tell due to what characters are on which show. That's one thing that these crossovers always got me with, was that, like, there are characters that you've established are in some episodes, but, like, they disappear from other episodes because they're not regulars, or they don't want to pay them for guest spots. Like, Wild Dog is missing from the entire end half, at least the actor, I think. But, like, he's there because he was captured, but Juliana Harkavy is the only, Harkavy, whatever you pronounce the name, is the only, like, Team Flash member besides Oliver Curtis that is credited. Like, you see Wild Dog, but he's got the mask on, you don't see his face. But I know, but the story here, plot crunch for this, is that Barry and Iris are getting married. And their wedding is interrupted by Nazis from Earth X, who want Supergirl so that they can use her for something, which I'll get to in the spoiler part. But this may be the best. A lot of people say this one is the best crossover, but I was saying it was Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't know. This might be the best. It's definitely the most emotional roller coaster of a crossover. And this is probably the one that I think is solid enough that this is the one that finally feels like a complete story. Because with Flash versus Arrow, you had like one part and another part, and they were 2 separate parts. And then you had, well, I guess you had the Heroes Unite, whatever the hell they call it. Legends of Today, Legends of Yesterday, whatever. That 2-parter that was decent, that they're connected well, but it's only in 2 parts. This is the first more than 2-part one that connects, because in the Invasion crossover, they interrupted it right in the middle for the 100th episode of Arrow, which still doesn't make any sense to me. I have a review on that crossover. It's not a bad 100th episode, but it has no place within the crossover, which is why they learned their lesson. Eric Wallace was smart enough to do the 100th episode of The Flash before or after. Hold on, look at season 5. Season 5 right here, The Flash. Okay. I think it's before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh, I'm sorry, it's before Elseworlds. That's right, that's the next one. It's the episode before. What's past is prologue. Yeah. Which, there are some things I need to get before I can review season 5, and that was the disc thing on a Blu-ray player I forgot to shut. But, yeah. So, and there are various different story plot points that I'm going to kind of hash out here. 1, Alex Danvers from Supergirl broke up with her fiance Maggie because Maggie doesn't want to have kids, and Alex does. That's what she's struggling with. Professor Stein wants to retire, and because his daughter Lily has given birth to his grandson Ronnie, and he wants to retire, and so that's been like a plot point for him and Jax during season 3 of Legends, and so that's the story plot point. And then I don't know, what's the thing crossover from Arrow? This is the season where Richard Dragon first is introduced. Felicity, Oliver and Felicity's relationship, I guess, is what comes over, and of course Barry and Iris' wedding. Those are the major story points from each one that is addressed, but it's not addressed like this doesn't feel like, okay, we're in each episode. They truly, like the last one, last crossover, each episode had a different title card. This one has the same title card. You are watching one continuous 4-part story. Whereas Invasion never felt that way. Same thing with Flash versus Arrow. Even the other one, Legends of Today and Yesterday, didn't feel like one big story. Well, at least they weren't treated like, maybe Legends one was, Legends of Today and Yesterday was, but even still the title cards and even like the aesthetic. This feels like it was all filmed as one big 4-hour film and cut into 4 parts. Is what I feel like. So, yeah. So yes, Barry and Iris are getting married. This whole first part is preparing for and going with the wedding. Alex and Sarah, I had to look at the Blu-ray at her face to remember her name, hook up because, hey, somebody in the writer's room went, hey, what if the 2 gay chicks hooked up? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be funny? Literally, I'm pretty sure that's how the conversation went. Hey, there's gonna be 2 gay chicks at this wedding. They should hook up. That's pretty much. I mean, there's a good story with that, but where Alex is dealing with struggling, and then they both get drunk, and then they hook up, and then later it's Sarah who kind of talks her into moving on. So, that old thing. But yeah, the wedding. It's the gathering of characters. Some characters you won't see, like Joe West. And Joe and Wally and Cecile are not seen past this episode. They're not even in their Flash episode, despite being credited. And again, I have to stress this. Why is Wally always pushed to the side? Wally is a freaking hero. He is the Kid Flash. He could have helped out. Hell, I was looked up on a thumbnail. He's in the thumbnail for this. He's in this thing for Crisis Under X, and he's barely in this. He's in the first part. Why isn't he allowed to help? Forget the fact that having 2 speedsters is OP. Alright? The Arrowverse ignores the fact that Supergirl technically has super speed but never uses it. All Kryptonians do. She just flies. I mean, all live action media have ignored the fact that Superman has super speed. Superman and Lois doesn't do it. The recent DCEU movies, he only flies. But Superman has always had super speed. So does Supergirl. It's a Kryptonian thing. And yet, they kind of ignore that. You technically had 2 speedsters, 3 with the evil one, and then 4 with another one, but yeah. Why couldn't Wally be more involved in this? I don't understand. Wally gets no respect as a character. He gets nothing to do. He's at the wedding, he helps there, and then he's gone for the rest of the runtime. The rest of the crossover, just gone. Why? Why does Wally not get respect here? He should be a hero. But no. Disappears. Harry gets to do more. Speaking of Harry, I did not mention in my review of season 4 how emotional Harry's arc was, with him basically becoming stupefied by the end because of, DeVoe's, the thinking cap he uses makes him smart, actually makes him dumb, which DeVoe calculated that, and he's basically saying the same ramblings that Barry was saying when he was coming out of the fine, shine, sky, just like that. But yeah, so the wedding happens, and this is the weirdest wedding party. I don't understand why they chose some guest stars. Like, okay, so people from other shows that go to the wedding: Kara and Alex. Okay. Then you have Jax, Stein, Rory, and then Oliver and Felicity, Diggle, I think, too. I think Diggle is there. Maybe. He should be. I really don't know if he is or not. But that's the problem, is that because they consider these not one separate thing, but part of each show, they only go by, how many guest stars we can have. And that's always been a problem for these, because I feel like every single character should be involved in every part. And, like, when you think, like, I can't remember the word right now. Common sense wise, everyone should be there. Like, Ray doesn't show up, Ray, as in Ray Palmer, the Atom, doesn't show up until the Legends episode. What the fuck? He is close with them. Why isn't he at the wedding? Why? Why does Mick Rory get to go, but Ray doesn't? And you think all your friends you saved the world with would be there. All the Legends, all of Team Arrow, everyone would be there. You know? But no, they're not. Because we have budget and we can't credit certain characters. Can't put them in certain episodes. But it doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. Wedding happens and we see the mysterious girl, or as we now know as Nora West Allen, for the first time. And this has always been confusing to me, because she's like, this is a big day. It's your wedding day. It's a big historical day. And then later we find out she is Barry and Iris' daughter from the future. Why the fuck didn't she warn them? I understand, knowing too much about one's future. I've seen Back to the Future. It could be harmless, but you say, hey, I can't tell you specifics, but you might want to prepare for Nazis coming through that door in a little bit here. She would know about this. It would be in the history books. It would be in the Flash Museum. What's that? Talk about that in season 5. It would be in the Flash Museum that this happened. So I don't understand why she doesn't tell them, hey, by the way. And you can say, well, maybe she's doing that. But we find out about this Nora in season 5. She's not the most responsible character. She would be the one to interfere and say, hey, this needs to happen. Something's going to happen here. But no, she just shows up as a caterer and offers her dad a drink. That's it. All shit breaks down. But we get I should mention the first scene of this is actually a masked archer facing off against the Earth X version of Jimmy Olsen, the Guardian, which he kills. And it's no surprise to find out later that the evil archer is Oliver from Earth X, and then there's another flying woman, which is so obviously Supergirl, with a mask on. And they do this with the mask on so that we have stunt people and we can have our actors, because they have to do double doppelgangers. Strangely enough, though, the evil Flash is just the Reverse Flash, and not a Reverse Flash from Earth X, from Earth 1. It's Eobard Thawne with Wells' face on it for some reason, because they couldn't be bothered to call Matt Lester to have him come back. Look, I love Tom Cavanaugh's performance as Reverse Flash, but I feel a lot of these appearances of the Reverse Flash would hold more weight if it was Matt Lester's Eobard Thawne, and not just having Tom Cavanaugh do it because he's there. And you can't tell me otherwise. They're like, oh, we can do the Reverse Flash when we want because Tom Cavanaugh, he's a regular. So just have him do it. Laziness. Cheapness. They're being cheap and lazy. We don't have to hire Matt Lester to come back. No, we got him. It's lazy. It should always be Matt Lester in some way. Because in practice, every version of the Reverse Flash that Barry meets should be a version he met prior to the one he fought in season 1. Because technically, if they're going common sense right, from that point, the Reverse Flash dies. But there are still echoes through time. So every single echo should be that version, the Matt Lester version, the quote-unquote younger version, before he got trapped. That's what it should be. And yes, I know, that the continuity in this series is miles away from what it should be, but the Nazis arrive, right? Attack, and so they gotta regroup themselves, and we find out that they're there because they want Supergirl. They want her heart to transplant into the evil Supergirl's body. But here's the problem with that. It wouldn't work. And they never addressed this, but they've said many times before that people from other Earth vibrate at a different frequency as those on Earth 1. So how sure are you that organs don't have the same kind of problem? Are you guaranteed that a heart transplanted from Earth 1 to an Earth X counterpart is still going to work the same it would if it was the Earth X heart? I'm just saying, you can't guarantee that. During this first part as well, Cisco gives Professor Stein and Jax a little vial of blue liquid that will take away their powers, and then Jax is unsure, so it will not take away their powers, but separate them so that Stein can retire and Jax can stay with the Legends. And the way they go with Stein's character, I always felt like they should have led a different way. Some way, shape, or form. There's two other ways they could have gone. We'll get to that. So, then part 2 essentially picks up because the insurgents have an alternate version of Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, an alternate version of Kara Danvers, Supergirl, the Reverse Flash, and an alternate version of Prometheus, which you know is Agent Chase from season 5 of Arrow, spoiler alert. But in this version, it's Tommy fucking Merlin. And it's a waste of a return. It's a waste of an actor. Because when I sound like Tommy, and he's talking to him, it's basically like a redemption type thing, sort of. But then he cyanides himself and just dies. And it's like, what was the point of bringing back Colin Donnell for that walk-on role? That's stupid. That is stupid. Also, Thea's not at the wedding. Come on. Being lazy. And cheap. But, yeah. So, they fight against the Nazi people and end up on Earth X, which is where that ends. There's this bunch of fighting, and then they take over Star Labs because that's where Eobard Wells is most familiar with, which leaves most of the insurgents from the Arrow episode, which have Wild Dog and the new Black Canary, McRory. I feel like there's one more meta. They lock them up in the meta prisons, which I thought it's weird because you only ever see one because budget, and they still have the bunch in the pipeline. I thought they would have destroyed all those except for the one that they needed. Usually they only need one, but yeah. Also, Ralph is not there, but I don't know if he was introduced yet by the time this. Where's the season 4 DVDs over here? Hold on. No, it's back here. I guess that's appropriate to have that up. I was gonna take it down, but I don't know if Ralph was quite introduced yet. If he was, he wasn't at the wedding, so Ungated Journey Night, episode 3, but I don't think he was technically a part of Team Flash yet. So, probably not. He sort of did the other ones, but, yeah. So, now they're trapped on Earth X, and this is where we get the whole Earth X stuff. We find out that Quentin Lance is a general in the Nazi army, but not only that, that version of Oliver is technically the Fuhrer, their version of Hitler, I guess. And their version of Kara is actually the general. Okay. And it's a dark earth with red sky, and we're introduced to Ray Terrell, aka the Ray. And yes, it is pointed out that his superhero name is basically just his name with the in front of it. And the persecuted, and it hits weight when you think of, like, okay, so why isn't there an alternate version of the Flash? Well, if you're a comic reader, it wouldn't make sense that there's a Nazi version of the Flash, because Barry Allen in the comics, he's Jewish. I don't think the TV version of him has ever been confirmed to be that, but in the comics he is. Although it also doesn't make sense because there's an animated web series thing for the CW Seed, Freedom Fighters the Ray, which there's an evil Barry Allen Flash. So I don't know. Is that a prequel? Who knows? But yes, and people are persecuted. They make a great point. You know, there's a lot of people in this group that have been kidnapped that would be persecuted because Nazi world, they wouldn't be, you know. Barry, in the comics at least, is Jewish, as is Martin Stein here. Jax is African American, obviously. And Sarah and Alex are both queer. I say that in an understandingly loving sense, not the... I try to think of how I would say it. I can't call them gay, because to me, gay is two guys. Although, I've heard them described, you know, lesbians described that way, because they're lesbians. But they're queer. That's the... In the most understandable, respective sense, not derogatory in any way. I'm saying it in the way... Like, that term, queer, has come a long way to actually represent, rather than discriminate against, and that's kind of cool. In a way that you would never see the N-word used. There's no way you could ever get respect from that. But this word, queer, which I'm going to try to stop saying, has come a long way and be sort of a stand-up way where people say, hey, I'm queer. Which, the word itself also means weird, but of course, you hear that word, what do you think of? But yeah, they're both in that category. So yeah, it's a bit different there. But during this, they are saved by Leonard Snart, Leo Snart, Citizen Cold from Earth X, who's the good version and is also gay, with Ray Terrell, not Ray Palmer, but the Ray. They're both gay. That's why he has a pink thing on him. Yes, so they devise that there is a portal to the other Earth, right? And they have to get through this portal to get to Earth 1 to go back and save Kara. Meanwhile, Kara is being prepped for surgery by being pumped with a bunch of red sunlight. And they just lay her there and pump her through it so she's weak. Like, in all other versions, I've seen red sun instantaneously affect where they're human, right? It's like kryptonite, which, again, you could have just used kryptonite, just had a kryptonite sitting there. It would take less time than red sun. Just saying. This is going to weaken yours, but you also need that for her, too, to insert the heart in. So, yeah, but we need to buy time so that we can last this an hour of runtime for TV time. So, yeah. So, Felicity and Iris haters rejoice, save the others in the pipeline, which leads into the next episode. But, yeah, and they also kick some bump. They get captured, but are able to sort of rescue. I think they rescue them. I don't know if that's someone else. No, they don't rescue them. They try to rescue them, but they get captured. That's right. But they do kick some butt along the way, which... Yeah, meanwhile, Earth X, they decide they have to get through this portal. And that's what bugs me, is we have to do this. We have to get through this portal. They meet an alternate version of Windshot from Supergirl, who's a general here and wants to just blow the thing up. And I'm going, let him. But they won't get back to Earth. Yes, they would. No, they won't. The only way is through the portal. No, it's not. They keep saying that. It's the only way out. No, it's not. If they destroy that portal, we can't go home. Yes, you can. Do you forget that Cisco has extrapolators and can also vibe to other worlds? So all you would need, I sound like Hair Wells. All you would need is for someone to rescue Cisco, and he could just rescue you. But no, we gotta run out. We gotta go to runtime, right? We gotta have this big fight sequence where they go in and we get a character killed off. And this is where the emotional part comes in. Alright? End of part 3. Right? Stein and Jax, they're close to the machine. They gotta pull the machine to open the rift, to tear the portal, to go back to Earth 1. And in doing so, Martin Stein gets shot. Dr. Stein gets shot. And it ends with him laying there. Part 3 done. Part 4 opens right away. They aired on the same night, so it was probably instantaneous there, but we get the credits here for the Blu-ray release. But, which, and I think I said this with Crisis, it should have edited it into one big movie instead of having the credits at the end of each episode. If you're going to put it, I understand maybe for this, they wouldn't have, but the Crisis Out of Earth is on a separate disc. And it should be just one, thing. But anyway. So, they're able to get to the portal. They get through. By the way, Oliver disguises himself as the Fuhrer Oliver. But evil Lance is somehow able to figure it out. They bring in an alternate version of Felicity for him to shoot. And he turns the gun on Lance. Of course, there's no bullets in it because he figures it out. And the actor's British accent bleeds through when he's yelling. But maybe it was on purpose. Who knows? But, yeah, so they get back to Earth 1, and the legends have been called as backup, because now it's their episode, they can show up now, even though could have used you 2 parts ago, but, no, laziness, cheapness, can't pay you, sorry, gotta wait for your own show. Again, makes no sense, and, common sense-wise, everyone should be involved with this. One, that would actually get done faster, but who knows. Legends are now here. And the other legends that have come are Steel, Nate Haywood, Maya, Zari, who I forgot was at part of the team at this point. And I was like, oh yeah, Zari's here now. And then, yeah. Mick has a weird altercation with the Citizen Cold version. It's a ghost, because there's a thing earlier in season 3 where he's seeing a vision of Snart, which is weird. Like, I feel like you could have eliminated that and just had this Snart show up and be very confused because it's McRoy anyway. Yeah. Stein is dying, but he's holding on because he's still connected to Jax, who is still alive. But he is also feeling the effects of being shot despite not actually being shot. And so they have to take Cisco's serum. But Jax doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want him to die. And if you listen to the dialogue Dr. Stein says in the first episode, I'm going to enjoy my retirement, and I'm going to spend time with my grandson, and I'm going to teach him how to play chess, and I went, oh, you're dead. Just the way those dialogue, you hear stuff like that in TV shows, movies, you're like, yeah, that guy's dead. And again, he takes the serum, he dies, Jax mourns, everyone mourns, I'm crying like a baby, but it didn't have to go that way. You could have just had him retired, or they outright say this. Being inside the 5-storm matrix, Jax saved him. Because they become Firestorm to get out of the Nazi camp. So, I thought it was leaning more towards the animated Justice League, which there was some times where he was Ronnie Raymond, but most of the time, he was full Firestorm. So I thought they were leading into that with the Jax version, where he was just going to be Firestorm the entire time. And be able to switch back and forth, sort of, like the Human Torch, or like Caitlyn in Killer Frost, where, Oh, I do love the line where Mick is facing off against the evil Oliver. He's like, because, whenever Caitlyn gets scared or angry, she turns into Killer Frost. So he's like, looking at Oliver, he's going, I bet you're getting scared or angry right now. Why would I be scared or angry? I'm not talking to you. Killer Frost comes in. That's pretty cool. But yeah. So we have the big final battle versus the Nazis. And we get Supergirl versus evil Supergirl. Oliver versus evil Oliver. Flash versus Reverse Flash. And yeah. Other heroes versus other bad guys, that sort of thing. And the bad guys have an evil Wave Rider with the voice of Susanna Thompson, who was Oliver's mother in the first 2 seasons of Arrow in that 100th episode. So I don't understand how that connects, but it's a fun little Easter egg. I might know it itches so much because of the mustache. But I can't shave yet because it's cold out and I need to walk on Wednesday, so yeah. Anyway, so they save the day. Evil Supergirl is going to explode, so they got to take her into the atmosphere, and she explodes. Reverse Flash gets away, and he utters the words, see you in the next crisis. No, you won't. Because I think they originally intended the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover to be the one in the news article. And they set it up here and decided, nah, we're going to do something completely different and has nothing to do with this. And you can say, oh, well, no, the next crisis was Armageddon. Bullshit retconning. Bullshit retconning. There's no way they knew that's what it was going to be. I think they intended it to be Crisis on Infinite Earths, which they were setting up with Elseworlds. But they're doing it earlier, which in hindsight kind of makes sense now. But it does feel like after Crisis on Infinite Earths, everything just sort of went. Because they set up everything on one Earth, like I said in my review. But now, shows have been canceled. Black Lightning and Supergirl right away. We're ending, right? Then Batwoman and Legends, after like one more season after that, 2 more seasons after that, they're gone, right? So then, and now the Flash is ending. And Stargirl, that's not really connected. They had the cameo at the end of Crisis, but yeah. And Arrow already ended before that. But I'm just saying, like, they set up this whole new thing they were going to do and expand the Arrowverse, and then they went away. But yeah, we get Martin Stein's funeral, which doesn't nearly have enough people at it. Doesn't even have all the guest stars that are in the episode. Just mostly the legends. Barry, Iris, maybe some of the other Flash people. I know Caitlin's there. Cisco maybe. Or maybe Team Arrow wouldn't know. But were Oliver and Felicity even there? I don't know. But yeah, Jax is the main focus of this with Clarissa. And man, if there's the death scene, and that made me cry. When he gets shot, I cried. When he has to take the vial and he dies, I cried. People mourn, I cried. But it's the scene where Jax goes to visit Clarissa. That's Stein's wife. And he just comes up and he goes, she's like, no. And then Lily comes in and she's like, no. And it just, I cried so much, man. And the frustrating part about it is I'm sitting here crying my ass off, and I had to pee the entire time, but I couldn't pull myself away from the TV. And eventually I did once the scenes were done, but I just couldn't move. I really got to pee. But yeah, no. And we get some follow-up with Alex and Sarah. They're going back. I'm going in time, and you're going to go back to another Earth. And Kara says her goodbyes to the others. We get more Barry and Oliver stuff. And then the most egregious thing in the episode. So, because Barry and Iris were never to get married at the beginning, in this big lavish wedding that really should have ended the crossover, if you think about it. Should have led up to it. Like, they should have been like, we got a wedding to go to. And that should have been the end of it. But no, they decided to get married in the middle of a park. And Diggle somehow was able to marry them. Apparently he got registered as an actual registered official to officiate his brother's and Carly's, his brother and his sister-in-law's wedding, which, I don't know if you know this, but those things expired, and being as that was well over 10 years by this point, I think, at least. I don't think he'd still be ordained, but I'm going to let it go. Because what happens after this is much worse. So, Barry grabs him, they do the puke gag, you know, because every time that he super speeds Diggle, he pukes up some stuff. So, yeah. So there's that. And then, so he's going to officiate the wedding. And before the I do's even happen, Oliver's like, wait. Because earlier in the first part, he wanted to marry Felicity, and they get in a small argument, which leads to her yelling out, I don't want to get married. And they're like, and the whole focus with them is that though, to want to get married or not. And they decide, hey, actually, can we get married too? Can you marry us right now? Stealing the thunder from Barry and Iris, who this should be about, doesn't matter. We're going to get married too. And so, both Barry and Iris and Oliver and Felicity get married. Why? Who knows? But there are no rings. And Oliver and Felicity don't have a wedding license. So I don't think they're actually illegal here. Or actually legally married here. But they could still went to like City Hall. And there's even a line where it's like, hey, can't the mayor officiate weddings? I think you have to be in the Starlab city limit. Or in the Star City limits. He's the Flash. Okay, we're in Star City. Marry us. No, we gotta have the gag with Diggle. So he pukes again. Which again, I don't know how legal his officiating is, but you know. But yes. So they both get married and the episode ends. Look, this is a great crossover. The ending can go fuck itself. Oliver and Felicity do not need to double down on getting married with Barry and Barry and Oliver, with Barry and Iris. It should have been about them. That's how the whole first part was. And like the whole crossover should have been leading up to the wedding. And that's the last part. The last 20 minutes should be the wedding. I get it with Stein dying. You can't really do that. But, you know, just don't kill him off. Have him retire. Like he should have. I always don't get that with characters. Where you have characters that are going to retire. They're going to leave. And then you just kill them off anyway. No. You don't need to kill off a character. And like Martin Stein, like when other characters left, like a couple seasons later, Ray Palmer leaves Legends, and I automatically thought they're gonna kill him off. They don't. He and Nora Dark, which when I get to reviewing these, we're gonna have to talk. But there's a reason why they didn't get together. But they go off into the sunset basically. But Martin Stein has to die. Is it because the actor didn't want to come back at all? Because we hadn't seen Ray? Well, once. Armageddon, but still. Why did you have to kill off Dr. Stein? Just give him his retirement. And yes, he would retire in Central City, and there were a lot of questions, well, how come they're not going to Stein? They could have still worked it out. Oh, I called Professor Stein, and he says we could do this, this, and this, and this. Problem solved. Especially that would have worked in the later parts of season 4 when, you know, Harry starts getting messed up in the brain. You could, oh, I call Dr. Stein. He says this and this and this should work. He's a smart guy, that Stein. But yeah. Overall, I think it's a great crossover. It's better than the last one. I think it is probably the best. I mean, I haven't watched Elseworlds in a while. There's some things about Elseworlds that gets me excited. Especially a certain part in part 1. But, you know, I digress. I digest. But, yeah. Overall, great crossover. So what are your thoughts on Crisis on Earth X? Let me know in the comments. Let me make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.